A very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha television. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor and here are this morning's headlines. India to double its contribution to Commonwealth Fund for Technical Cooperation. Prime Minister Modi stresses on moral responsibility of richer nations to help weaker states. Projects International Solar Alliance as a solution to tackle climate change at the Chogam. Government to observe Ujjwala Divas today as part of its rural outreach program Gram Swaraj Abhiyan. 15,000 LPG panchayats to be organized across the country to promote safe use of LPG and benefits of clean fuel. Opposition parties to meet today in Parliament House to discuss current political situation, broader consensus to take on BJP in upcoming Assembly and Lok Sabha polls to be discussed. Rahul Gandhi meets Sharad Pawar to speed efforts to forge opposition unity. Miguel Diaz-Canel sworn in as new president of Cuba succeeds Raul Castro. In maiden speech after taking over, promises to modernize economy but adds there will be no return to capitalism. And India to bid for 3 big sporting events including the 2026 Youth Olympics, 2032 Summer Olympics and 2030 Asian Games. Visiting President of International Olympics Committee Thomas Bach says India has the capacity to host big events. Our top story from London. Prime Minister Narendra Modi attended the 25th Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in London on Thursday, and the Prime Minister was received by his British counterpart Theresa May and Commonwealth Secretary General. Now, during the 2 executive sessions at the Chogam, the main issues discussed was strengthening democracy and the rule of law, the state of the international trading system, achieving sustainable development goals and climate action, and security issues faced by the Commonwealth countries. Prime Minister Modi made several key interventions at the sessions where he stressed on capacity building of small states and small islands that are part of the Commonwealth fold. He also announced a doubling of India's contribution to the Commonwealth Fund for Technical Cooperation for Small Island States.
One was to enhance our contribution to the Commonwealth Fund for Technical Cooperation, and we basically doubled our contribution, announced a doubling of our contribution. We are also going to look at ways of finding, assisting in small projects that we could do for Commonwealth countries through interaction with them at New York in the permanent mission, through our permanent mission of India to the UN. Then we are also doubling our contribution to the Commonwealth Small States offices in New York and Geneva. So this would help them to enhance their capacity in dealing with multilateral issues of concern to them.
Well, apart from this, the Prime Minister also highlighted the need for working together for achieving SDGs and cooperation on climate action. India also announced a cricket training for youngsters from the Commonwealth nations.
With the help of BCCI, we would be organizing training for 30 young boys and 30 young girls under the age of 16 in cricket. So this is another area, I think, which has evoked a lot of interest.
And apart from attending the multilateral Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, that is Chogam in London, Prime Minister Narendra Modi also held bilateral meetings on the sidelines. The Prime Minister met with his counterparts from Bangladesh, Australia and the President of Seychelles. After Prime Minister Modi's meeting with the Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Ravish Kumar tweeted, Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister of Bangladesh Sheikh Hasina had a productive exchange of views on various issues of bilateral interest. Prime Minister Modi also met Seychelles President Danny Faure and discussed cooperation in the areas of trade and investment and other bilateral issues. Cementing close friendship with Mauritius, Prime Minister Modi met his Mauritius counterpart Praveen Kumar Jugnauth and talked about cooperation in trade and investment, maritime cooperation and people-to-people ties. Prime Minister Modi also had informal meetings with his counterparts from Australia, Fiji, St. Lucia, Antigua and Barbuda and Trinidad and Tobago. Modi also interacted with the presidents of Kiribati, Uganda and Gambia. Now, Foreign Affairs correspondent Akhilesh Suman now joins us live from London. Akhilesh, at the Chogam, the heads of governments got into the business end of the things yesterday. You know, several key issues were raised at the two executive summits, and our Prime Minister batting there for developmental assistance to small states.
As per Indian foreign officials, it was really a very fruitful meeting of Commonwealth heads of governments yesterday. Since the whole interaction was divided into two sessions, and it was an interactive session actually. The one issue was cropping up and every head of governments were reacting on this, they were giving suggestions. So it was not one-way affair, it was everyone was interacting and sharing their views on that. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi's emphasis was on sustainable development and also how the Commonwealth governments can help the poorer countries of the grouping. And you know that almost 33 countries in the Commonwealth are really very poor and they need assistance from the group. And many of them are island nations whose existence are at stake. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi emphasized on that, and he told that climate change must be stopped because once water increases, the existence of the island nations will be very difficult. And he suggested that the International Solar Alliance is one of the solutions that India has projected, and the Commonwealth countries should join in that. And he also mentioned one other thing, the rich countries of the world must take the moral responsibility and must take it as their moral responsibility to help the poor nations with green technology so that the climate change and carbon emissions can be stopped. So every country of the Commonwealth cheered, and all the head of states were very happy that Prime Minister Narendra Modi suggested that whatever legally foundation is there to stop the climate change, but there must be moral responsibility taken by the rich nations, and they should do at their moral responsibility. And the other thing that cropped up in the meeting was the issue of terrorism. On the issue of terrorism, every country was almost with India, and it was really a situation when everyone told that terrorism must be stopped because every country, you know that many African countries are there in the Commonwealth, and they were telling that because of terrorism it is happening. And also Pakistan was present there, Pakistan Prime Minister was present there. He mentioned that Pakistan is the victim of terrorism. He was lamenting, though he did not raise the issue, the K word that he almost used to say. So in a way that it was a affair that India wanted to do in a way, and it happened in a way. So you can say that it was very fruitful meeting yesterday when Prime Minister Narendra Modi was present there. And he also interacted with 11 heads of governments, including Bangladesh, Australia, Mauritius, South Africa. So in that way, you know that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has opened his mind, and he told that whatever contribution would be necessary from Indian side, India will be ready to help.
Absolutely. So important interventions there also made by Prime Minister Modi. Akhilesh, you stay on with us. We'll just come back to you. And earlier inaugurating the Chogam Summit, Britain's Queen Elizabeth II hoped the Commonwealth will play a pivotal role for the stability and continuity for the future generations. UK Prime Minister Theresa May said that climate change threatens and state cyber attacks will be the major issues to be discussed at the summit.
The two-day 25th Commonwealth Heads of the Government meeting started in London on Thursday. British Prime Minister Theresa May, along with the Commonwealth Secretary-General Patricia Scotland, welcomed the heads of the Commonwealth nations. Inaugurating the summit, Queen Elizabeth II said, the Commonwealth will continue to offer stability and continuity for future generations.
Been welcomed to opening ceremonies around the Commonwealth. It is a pleasure this time to welcome you to my own home.
She also appealed to Commonwealth leaders to appoint her son, Prince Charles, to succeed her as their head. The role is not hereditary and will not pass automatically to the Prince of Wales on the Queen's death.
By continuing to treasure and reinvigorate our associations and activities, I believe we will secure a safer, more prosperous and sustainable world for those who follow us.
Meanwhile, British Prime Minister Theresa May warned of global challenges in her opening remarks at the event. May told the Commonwealth leaders that threats from climate change and state cyber attacks are among the issues which are said to be discussed throughout the summit.
To seize the possibilities open to us as member countries and together to take on some of the 21st century's biggest questions. How we support our most vulnerable member states as we tackle climate change and improve the health of our oceans, creating a more sustainable Commonwealth. How we develop through trade, pushing back against protectionism for a more prosperous Commonwealth.
Representatives of 53 nations of the Commonwealth are participating in the summit. 2 executive sessions have been organised in London's Lancaster House for the Commonwealth. The theme of this year's CHOGM is Towards a Common Future. The leaders of the member countries will decide whether the Commonwealth can be developed as a new business and cooperation organisation like ASEAN. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is slated to attend a retreat at the Grand Waterloo Chamber of Windsor Castle, and all members of the Commonwealth will get together in an informal setting without any preset agenda or being accompanied by their top advisors. British Prime Minister Theresa May will hold the concluding news conference to mark the end of CHOGM later tonight. And after completing his visit to Sweden and the UK, Prime Minister Modi will be making a brief stopover in Berlin. There he is slated to meet Chancellor Angela Merkel. It will be the first meeting between the two leaders since Merkel began her 4th term as German Chancellor on 14th of March. All right, let's go back to Akhilesh Suman, who is joining us live from London. Akhilesh, what lies ahead for Prime Minister Modi as he wraps up his UK visit today?
Yes, today will be informal interaction among the heads of governments of the Commonwealth nations, and this interaction is considered to be very fruitful. Even the Foreign Secretary will not be there, present there. So it will be one-to-one affair with many heads of governments, and it is considered to be a mind-making, heart-touching exercise, so that organically both all the heads of governments can understand their issues, and also they can interact in an open, free and fair manner, so that they, whatever they want from particular state, particular nation, they can talk to, and it is considered to be very fruitful. In the evening, there will be a press conference, there will be some declaration, and then whatever consensus will be reached among the Commonwealth countries, it will be declared by the evening according to the London time. But Prime Minister in between will leave for Germany, and he will have a dinner meeting with Angela Merkel, the Chancellor of Germany. And you know, the phone call had come from Angela Merkel herself that if you are going through Germany, please let us come, let us meet.
All right, so after the executive session of the summit yesterday, there will be a retreat at Windsor Castle where the leaders will get together in an informal setting. Thank you so much, Akhilesh, for all the details on the Commonwealth meet. We'll keep coming back to you. And with this, we'll take a very short break. We'll be right back with more news.
Hello and welcome to Security Scan. I am Vishal Dahiya, and this week we will discuss the new vistas in the defense production sector in India.
Pod technology.
it never comes to you. You have to put in the research and put in the money, put in the effort.
We have to create that ecosystem for primary research.
We can make it a buyer's market. And technology transfer should be one of the preconditions.
Welcome back after the break. The centre will observe Ujjwala Divas as part of its rural outreach program Gram Swaraj Abhiyan. As part of the day's events, around 15,000 LPG panchayats will be organised across the country to promote leaning through peer group interaction. The aim of the panchayats will be to sensitize the beneficiaries to the safe use of LPG and the benefits of a clean fuel. The three public sector petroleum companies, namely Indian Oil Corporation, Bharat Petroleum and Hindustan Petroleum, will also observe the day. The three majors have announced that they would distribute 70,000 LPG connections in Gujarat to the households below poverty line, and similar programs have also been planned across several other states of the country as well. On to some other news, a parliamentary panel has reportedly directed IT ministry officials to get a written commitment from Facebook and other social networking sites that their platforms would not be used to manipulate elections in our country. Now, PTI is quoting a member of the panel on the conditions of anonymity that the chairman of the panel told the ministry to get the written commitment. The report also says that the members supported the chairman, saying that the government should also get in writing the details of the steps that Facebook and other social networking platforms have taken or will take to avoid their misuse. Well, after the meeting, Thakur posted a tweet inviting questions and queries from the general public on online security and privacy. The panel members at the meeting also said that India is still playing catch-up on the issue of the robust IT data protection policy. It is learned that they expressed shock at the inadequate data available with India regarding India's digital economy, revenue and profitability of tech giants operating in the country. India may be left out of the IT regulatory framework unless it gets its act together. That is what the members have said. The committee members also said that Maitri should take a long-term view of the issues and put systems and a regulatory framework to protect the privacy of Indian citizens. And the opposition parties will be meeting today in Parliament to discuss the current political situation in the country. The meeting will take place in the Leader of Opposition Ghulam Nabi Azad's chamber in Parliament at 11 a.m. today. And during the meeting convened by Azad, the parties are likely to discuss the idea of having a broader consensus on how to defeat the BJP in the upcoming Assembly and Lok Sabha elections. Meanwhile, Congress President Rahul Gandhi met NCP Chief Sharad Pawar and discussed the political situation in the country and possibilities of getting all the opposition parties together on one platform to defeat the BJP in the 2019 polls. PTI report says that the meeting last night lasted around 1.5 hours at Pawar's residence, during which the political situation in each state, including Karnataka, was discussed. Let's get you all the news from Karnataka, where assembly elections are due. Well, the chief ministerial candidate for the 12th of May Karnataka Assembly poll, Siddaramaiah, will file his nomination papers today, as Siddaramaiah, who won from Varuna in both 2008 and 2013 with a significant margin, is contesting from Chamundeshwari this year, and he has fielded his son Yatindra in the upcoming Assembly elections as well. Meanwhile, B.S. Yediyurappa on Thursday filed his nomination papers from Shikaripura Assembly segment. The filing of nominations began on Tuesday. And BJP President Amit Shah, who is on a two-day tour of the poll-bound state of Karnataka, met industrialists and traders from the state on Thursday to discuss various issues with them. During interaction with the trade and industry leaders, Amit Shah challenged Congress Chief Rahul Gandhi to make public if the BJP government has waived the loans of any one industrialist instead of misleading the country. Shah said that AICC president does not know the difference between loan waiver and non-performing assets. He mentioned that addressing problems of SEs and medium enterprises is the BJP's top priority. Also answering a question on the GST, he said that there are problems with the GST, but it is not permanent. GST Council, which meets regularly, is solving the problems and it will continue to do so, he said. And on criticism about Modi's foreign visit, Amit Shah said that nobody knew about Manmohan Singh's visit to any foreign country, but Prime Minister Modi's visits are high decibel and noticeable. BJP's chief ministerial candidate for the 12th of May Karnataka Assembly polls, B.S. Yediyurappa, on Thursday filed his nomination papers from Shikaripura Assembly segment. The BJP has set its sight on regaining power by winning 150 out of the 224 assembly seats. Yediyurappa has steered the BJP to victory and had formed the party's first ever government in the south in 2008. He was forced to resign as chief minister in 2011 over graft charges, following which he quit the party. He returned to the BJP ahead of the 2014 Lok Sabha polls. Former Deputy Chief Minister K.S. Ishwarappa, the party's leader in the state Legislative Council, also filed his nomination from Shivamoga Assembly segment yesterday. The filing of nominations, remember, began on Tuesday.
And I am going to get minimum 30 to 40,000 lead, and everybody is supporting all community people. And you know, they are not electing me only MLA, I am the Chief Minister candidates.
And now an update on the ATM cash crunch. And SBI Chairman Rajneesh Kumar on Thursday assured that the problem of cash crunch being faced by some states will be resolved by Friday. He said that the currency is being transported to the areas which are facing the shortage. The SBI chief held cash holders accountable and said that if people withdrew money from the bank and the money needs to be deposited back as well. Earlier today, the SBI said that people in smaller towns can withdraw up to 2,000 rupees a day from its POS machines at retail outlets free of charge. As per the RBI guidelines, the withdrawal limit from POS machines at retail outlets in Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities is 1,000 rupees per card per day and 2,000 rupees in smaller towns.
पिछले 2 दिनों से सरकार ने, आरबीआई ने, दोनों ने स्थिति को बहुत स्पष्ट रूप से किया है और आज मैं समझता हूं कि देश के 80% से ऊपर के एटीएम्स में पैसे है, जहां भी कोई जाएगा वो है.
Meanwhile, All India Banks Employees Association has threatened to launch an agitation claiming that the bank staff is facing public anger due to cash crunch. They say that they are the receiving end of the problem created by the centre and the RBI. The association says that concrete and immediate action is needed to improve the supply of currency notes. The union has threatened a nationwide agitation if the situation is not resolved at the earliest. However, no timeline has been given for the launch of the protests. On to some other news, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu today said that the people displaced from Kashmir should be settled back in their homes in their native state. He said this while releasing a book based on letters written by late BJP leader Kedarnath Sani in Delhi. The Vice President said that people displaced from Kashmir have a right to reside once again in the valley. For this, he said that Kashmiri people will themselves have to take the initiative in welcoming them back. The Vice President also emphasized that it has been a long time since these people have been displaced and they have suffered a lot of hardships in the process. He called it the responsibility of the entire country to see them resettled. Senior BJP leaders, including Union Minister Harshvardhan, were also present on the occasion. Kedarnath Sani was an eminent name in social work in the state of Jammu and Kashmir.
People of Kashmir, irrespective of political parties, they should take lead to bring back their brethren and create such an atmosphere so that they can live in their own native place in a happy manner and continue their life. That is the duty of the people of Kashmir.
And Cuba marked the end of an era on Thursday as Miguel Diaz-Canel was formally elected as the country's new president, succeeding Raul Castro and becoming the first non-Castro to lead the island in 6 decades. The silver-haired Diaz-Canel, a top Communist Party figure who has served as a first vice president since 2013, is the island's first leader born after the 1959 revolution. Diaz-Canel was elected in a landmark vote of the National Assembly a day before his 58th birthday. The chamber erupted into applause as the results were read out, with many of the delegates smiling and shaking hands warmly with Castro and Diaz-Canel. As Diaz-Canel walked to the front of the chamber, he high-fived the front line of the delegates, embracing Castro as he took to the stage. Images broadcast on state television showed. Then the 86-year-old Castro raised his successor's arm in the air in victory, prompting another wave of applause from the delegates. Let's get you all the sporting news. The Indian Olympic Association has decided to bid for the 2026 Youth Olympics, 2030 Asian Games as well as the 2032 Summer Olympics. This was conveyed during the ongoing 2-day visit of the International Olympic Committee Chairman Thomas Bach to India. Bach has said that India has the capability to host big Olympic events, but advised the IOA to wait for the bidding process to start. He added that it would be fantastic for the Indian athletes to have their Olympics at their home country. However, he said that no procedure is currently open, neither for Olympic Games nor for the Youth Olympics. The next available slot for Youth Olympics is 2026. The IOC chief also had a meeting with the Sports Minister Rajya Singh Rathore during the day on Friday, while the bidding process for the 2026 Youth Olympics is likely to start in the early part of 2020. And besides India, Thailand has also expressed interest to host the 2026 Youth Olympics. And that's it from me and my team in this edition of News. Thanks so much for watching.